Hi everyone, how are you? In this video I was talking about something new that launched in the ES6 JavaScript, the ES6 version of the JavaScript. We were talking about the object-oriented programming in JavaScript. Anyone know about the JavaScript? JavaScript was not support the object-oriented programming, but there is many or almost or of programming language it is already supported the object-oriented programming. But in JavaScript ES6 version, the JavaScript begins support the object-oriented programming. First of all, what is the object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming just like a method of programming, the method of structuring our code, our project. For example, the first thing you should know about the class. In the JavaScript, we know you have an object. For example, I want to object. For example, I define object like this. Let, for example, Osama equal. Osama is an object, has a name, also has a age, for example, 28, as well as maybe you can say salary or anything. Osama just an object, but we want to classify Osama, we want to classify object. We want to put the object under a specific classification or a specific class. For example, Osama is a user or Osama is an employee. For that, we want to make an employee class to classify Osama. Osama, maybe there is Ahmad, there is Ali, there is Hassan, there is John, there is Mark, there is any name. We have an object, but the object should be classified under the class. The class or classification under some class or some classification. For example, a class like a blueprint, like a template, we can extract the object from the class and make an object or create an object from this class. For example, we have the cat class. Cat is a class, but under this class there is, or we can create or extract another object from this class. For example, the lion. The lion is a type of the cat, right? Also the cat, also the tiger. All this object we can classify it under a class. Now, if I want to make a class, for that we make a class. Just we can say class is keyword, and the name of the class, for example, user, and just like this. Now I can make an a method. The class has a method and a variable, and also there is a constructor. Constructor is just a method like a normal method, but it is this method which call automatically if we create an object from this class. I will explain this. For that we can say constructor like this. It is just an method. Now the class, like this object, I want name and age and salary. I can say name, age, salary, and like this. Now I say this dot name equal name. What I mean by this dot name? I say this. I mean the instance of this class. This class just not usable. For example, the tree. Tree is like a class, but there is a many type of a tree. There is nothing called a tree. Tree, just a template, just an blueprint, you can say. But there is a tree for orange, tree for grapes, something else, right? There is a many type of a tree. Also, there is nothing called, for example, car. There is a type of car. Car, just a template, just a structure, just a blueprint. But there is a BMW car, Mazda, Mercedes, and so on. For that, the user also nothing, just like a template. For that, when I say this dot name, I mean this dot name when I make an object from this class. The object, we can say it is an instance of this class. Now this will be more obvious when we make an example. This dot age equal salary. is now a method, but this method is a special type of method called constructor. Constructor means it is just this method called automatically when just we make an instance of this class. For example, I just make an instance now, or make an object from this class. I say let Usama just an object equal new this keyword. I make a new object or a new instance from this class. Now I say the class name user. The class name has a constructor. We can say it. We can replace the variable in the constructor here in this when we in the brackets. For that I say name. For example, it is Usama. Just replace the age 28 and the salary is 5,000. Now it is like this, but it is not just an object. But now we have a class and we extracting object or creating object from this class. Now I make also another, for example, Mark. Also the salary may be 3,000. Now we make an instance from this class. We can, as we see here, constructor is automatically called when just make a class, when just make an instance. Now what is this? This I mean when I make an instance or make an object from this class user, this mention to this object. Now I say this dot name equal name. I say this dot name, and then this name I created with this object equal this name in the constructor. I can just replace it. Now if I make a console.log, I say just Usama. For example, I just want to print Usama. There is error already been declared. Yes, because I have another object called Usama. There is an error. I should delete this. Now reload. Just print Usama and age and name and salary. Now you can see I don't call this method constructor. It's just when I make object or make instance, we can say the user or the Usama is instance of user, or I can say it is just an object from this user. That's the same thing. Instance and object is just like a synonym. Here the constructor is automatically called. Now if I make another method, for example, I make method for login. For example, I just say login. It's just a method. Just for example, I just say console. I can say this dot name. Now I make an instance, but I don't calling this method. So if I try to make a reload here, this method is not appear, not show me the login, right? Because this method or any method inside the class should be calling with the class. For example, with an object. The object now I can make a 100 object from the user just a template. But every object or every instance from this class has this method. This method will be belong to any object with this class, or make it from this class. For that I can say Usama dot login. I can just say that. Now if I make a console, I make reload, Usama has logged in. I mentioned to the name here with this. Any method or any variable, instance variable using inside the class, you should using this, because this it is belong to the instance of this class. I should just say this keyword is this. This refer to the object of the class or instance of the class. Now in the instance I can use it. Now if I say just mark dot login, you should tell me the, if I make reload here, Usama has logged in and Mark has logged in, right? It is just like this. As I mentioned, this we call the instance variable or instance properties. This variable belong to the instance or belong to the object that we created from this user or this class, right? Also, the class can have an method or can have an also variable belong to particularly this class, not belong to the object or instance. If I want to make an class, or you can say it is like a static method or static variable. For example, if I want to make a static method, this method is belong to the class, not to the object or instance from the class. I just say static, this is the keyword, and for example I can say manager. I just say, for example, console. That's just an example. Now with Osama, that's just an object. I can call anything, any variable, instance variable and instance method like login. But manager, if I try to calling manager and I just make a reload, show me an error. Osama.manager is not a function, because the manager is just particularly for this class, belong to this class, not to the object of this class, right? Why I should using the static? Because there's sometimes there is something belong to the class, to the template, not to the object from the class. Now how I can using the manager, I should just say, for example, manager equal, I should say just user dot manager. Now I can calling this with the user. Now if I make an reload, so yes, he is a manager, because I can calling with the user class, because this belong to the user, not like login belong to the instance or variable or object, right? I hope this now it is more clear or more obvious. Now, what is the inheritance in the object-oriented? Inheritance, like an inheritance in the object, in the biological object, we have an inheritance. For example, the son inherits some behavior or something from his parent, right? For that, when I inherit something, when a class inherits from another class, it is bring all the method and variable to this class. For example, I make another class called manager. For example, the manager also, for example, has a constructor and just name, and here just I say this dot name, because I want to using this in the object, using this variable in the object that I created from this manager class, equal name. Now manager don't have any login, but I want to make login the same here. How I can do that? For example, I have inside the user class, I have for example 5 or 10 method, but in the manager also I want to using this method in the same way. For that, I just can make inheritance, make the manager inherit something from the user. I just say extends from what? From user, just like this. Now if I make an object, just make an object, let, for example, John. This is an instance of or an object from the manager. Just say manager. I make the name as John, just like this. Now there is nothing special, but now I have to join this instance or this object dot login. Say login, we can see login not belong to the manager, right? Login just belong to the user class, but I make an inheritance, the manager now inheritance from the user. For that, the manager is like a type of user. Every method, everything here inside the user class, I can use it inside the manager class. Here I make a reload. This show me error. Why? Because I should inside the constructor of the child class. Now this class called a child and this called a parent, right? Inside the child class I should calling the super method. Super mean I call the constructor of the parent class, that the user. I should make that before I can use the login. John has login. Everything is good now, right? Now it is everything about now. If I just delete the inheritance and try to make that, just show me an error because the login method it's belong to the user, but with inheritance I can use it, right? Thank you.